Okay, I'm going to start with my 6 items. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I affirm that in the United States, private ownership of handguns ought to be banned. I value justice, defined as the quality of being fair according to the New Oxford American Dictionary. Justice is an appropriate value for 2 key reasons. First, this debate is about the views of individuals, whether they are due the right to own a handgun. Second, the resolution specifically asks about the obligation of the United States government and obligations from them due. In order to evaluate justice, the best criterion is minimizing violence. The reason why we have governments to ensure law and order. Violence acts contrary to this because it perpetuates rights violations. So in order to maintain a peaceful and just society, we ought to minimize violence. The negative advocates for a world in which people can use guns at will and are subject to rights violations. My first contention is handguns desensitize youth to the deadly effects of guns, creating a massive culture of violence. In the United States, there were 31,513 deaths from firearms during the year 2010, according to the CDC. The large number of deaths due to the gun create a culture of violence in the United States. Tying back to my value criterion, we should minimize violence by reducing the amount of violence and deaths with handguns by setting a handgun ban throughout the United States. Moreover, with a surrounding of violence around our youth, we can bet that it is dangerous. The young child is introduced to a handgun as a toy. Violence with handguns is a mainstay of television drama. The young child does not understand the danger of the real object or the difference between it and its toy gun. And while playing with it, the family gun, one child somehow kills another. It is clear that we must ban handguns to promote my value of criterion of minimizing violence, and my value of justice by discouraging the use of handguns in our society to bring greater seriousness to society. My second contention is home and mass shootings are more likely to occur. The FBI defines mass shootings as any incident in which 4 or more people are killed with a gun. In Chicago during the year of 2005, 96% of the firearm murder victims were killed by handguns. If we banned handguns, these shootings would be less likely to occur. In addition to the handgun problem in Chicago, 82% of the mass shootings that occurred happened with guns that are bought legally according to the choice of weapons and firearm suicides. If we banned handguns, it is guaranteed that there will be less deaths due to firearms, clearly tying back to my value of justice and my value criterion of minimizing violence through the ban of handgun use. Moreover, 29.7 for every million people in the United States were killed by guns during homicides according to the CDC. Following this further, more than 2 out of 3 of the 1 million Americans died in firearm-related homicides, suicides, and unintentional shootings since 1962 were killed with handguns, according to the Violence Policy Center. Obviously, this conveys how dangerous handguns are to the United States. A handgun ban would make it harder for the criminals to find a new firearm to do their crime. Besides that, there is much more evidence to affirm that home and mass shootings are more likely to occur. For example, of all the firearm-related crimes in the United States during the year of 1993, 86% involved the use of a handgun, according to the Guns Used in Crime, Firearms Crime, and Criminal Justice Selected Findings. The evidence used clearly ties back to my value of justice, where everyone is equal and everything is fair, and the crime rate is henceforth lower with the use of a handgun ban in the United States. Thus, it is clear that home and mass shootings are more likely to occur with the usage of handguns. My third contention is easily available handguns result in increased death. Based on production results from firearm manufacturers from Firearms and Violence, a critical review, there are about 300 million firearms in the United States owned by the civilians during the year of 2010. Of these firearms, according to the Firearm Fact Card of 2010, there are about 100 million handguns in the United States. This means that for every 3 firearms, there is 1 handgun, making handguns widely available throughout the United States. It is impossible for justice in the United States if there are so many handguns available to the public. In addition to the large number of handguns in the United States, in 1997 there were 981 victims of an unintentional shooting deaths. of whom 142 were aged 14 years old or younger, according to D.L. Hilliard and K.D. Koshin, who wrote National Vital Statistics Report. This shows that death was just an arm length away with the use of handguns. Easily available handguns can increase the chance of death, is also proven by Arthur L. Kellerman and F.P. Revere in Suicide in the Home in relation to the gun ownership, where people living in a household with a gun are 5 times more likely to commit suicide than those living in a gun-free home. It is also proven by Garen J. Whitemuth that 7 times out of 10, a handgun will be the weapon of choice. With this in mind, it is impossible for justice to be in our society. The disproportionate ownership of handguns results in increased death in the form of suicide, homicide, and crime. For all these reasons, I urge you to vote affirmative in today's round.
Cross-X, do you want prep time?
No.
Okay.
But you just go now.
Yes. Judge ready, account ready. You have 3 minutes.
So, can you give the thesis of your first contention again?
Yes. Handguns desensitize youth to the deadly effects of guns, creating a massive culture of violence.
Okay, and where did you find the 86% of handguns, like of guns used for handguns?
86? Or do you mean 82 or something?
Something 80%.
Okay. %86 involves the use of handguns, according to the guns used in crime, firearms, crime, and criminal justice. That's the title.
Okay. So, how is somebody supposed to defend themselves if they get attacked by a person who has a gun and they do not have a gun?
If an individual who is in possession of a gun is 4.46 times more likely to be shot and assault than those not in possession.
So what was the survey for that?
The survey? Actually, those were studies done.
How did they do the study? How many people, do you know where it was?
They, after, like, the confounding factors that they use.
Because I believe that that study is invalid and cannot be used because there was only a small amount of people that did that study and it was done through phone surveys. So also, how do you suspect the government is going to make all the handguns magically disappear? I mean, you said yourself in your case that there are 300 million firearms available to the public and 100 million handguns available. So how are you going to make them all go away, especially since property rights are protected in almost every legal document in American history, not to mention the right to own guns is guaranteed in the Second Amendment.
If we see that somebody's using handguns, we could arrest them, and then we could do eye to eye with them, that means kill them. And then they would, like, know that the punishments can be very cruel.
How do you suspect the government to be everywhere, at all the times, and all the attacks that's going on?
Well, there's a police station, like...
The police station doesn't cover all the land unless you call the police.
And if you see somebody using a handgun, you can arrest them, or somebody having a handgun, you can just arrest them.
You can just arrest them.
Yeah.
But that's not getting...
And then wouldn't it provoke the criminals if you said, I'm going to start to shoot you?
Okay.
It
So,
would.
you talked about... So when you were talking about suicide, you said you're 5 times more likely to commit suicide if you had a gun in your home.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about this time up?
This time. Julia, would you like to run prep?
No.
Oh yeah. Can I just tell her where I got it?
Yeah, you can tell her where you got it. You can answer a cross-sex question every time.
Great with Arthur L. Kellerman.
How many? 7 minutes.
You have 7 minutes.
Okay. Well, actually, can I take more time?
Yeah, you can. Tell me when you want me to start.
Start.
Okay, I'll call it out in 30 seconds.
Okay.
You've used about a minute.
Okay.
Okay, you've used a minute and 15 seconds. That gives you 2:45 remaining.
Alright. I stand today in firm negation of the resolution in the United States the private ownership of handguns ought to be banned. The value for the round is security, defined by Merriam-Webster as the state of being protected or safe from harm. Prefer my value because the actor in the resolution is the U.S. government, and the first obligation of any government is to protect security. Furthermore, we need the security to exercise our basic rights. For example, I will not exercise my free speech if I am under the threat of a dictator killing me for it. To determine if we are consistent with security, look to the value criterion of protecting victims. According to the U.S. National Center for Victims, victims have the right to protection from threats, intimidation, or retaliation during criminal proceedings. We consent to a government in order to gain security of our rights, and the affirmative simply exacerbates the right violation. With this in mind, I offer the following contentions. My first contention is that self-defense is a right, and the private ownership of handguns is an essential element to self-protection. According to the American Police Beat, the average response time in the United States to an emergency call is 10 minutes. Say a group of people attack an innocent civilian. There may be more attackers than victims, or the attackers might be stronger and larger than their victim, leaving the victim at a disadvantage with nothing to do but wait 10 minutes, which is the average police response time for the police to arrive, assuming they could even get to their phone to make the call. The only way for a victim to defend themselves is with a handgun. Danger calls for immediate actions, and individuals cannot rely on the government to be there immediately in dire circumstances. Handguns are the best weapon for citizens because they are easily concealed and powerful, and otherwise do not require much skill to use, only the knowledge of how to fire them. Self-defense is also vital to protecting other rights, including life, liberty, and property. If you cannot defend yourself and you are killed, you no longer have the right to life. Liberty is being violated if handguns are banned, and the right to act freely is taken away. If you cannot defend yourself, you cannot defend your property. Taking away self-defense is also taking away fundamental rights. My second contention is that banning guns will not stop gun abuse because of the black market. Guns will just magically disappear when the government puts a ban on them. In fact, we can look to the past and notice similar circumstances. The alcohol prohibition in 1920 was unsuccessful because of the black market and ended up having many more drawbacks than benefits. Also, keep in mind, when handguns are banned, law-abiding citizens will remain law-abiding citizens. Today, those criminals who break the law to murder or assault people using a handgun will not be frightened by the law banning guns, considering they are planning on committing a crime anyway. Criminals will have many other ways to make, buy, and sell guns, and in the end, the people who will be without the handguns will be innocent civilians. Currently, many illegal drugs still exist, although the government has tried to put an end to them. So why should the possession of handguns be any different than the possession of drugs? The criminals would still remain unarmed, while the innocent populace would remain unarmed and defenseless. The criminals would remain armed, while the innocent populace would remain unarmed and defenseless. It is unjust to deprive the law-abiding people of their right to safety and protection, only to have fugitives be able to acquire guns through the black market. In September 2014, a 60-year-old robbery victim, Tim Foley, was able to use a concealed carry gun to stop the criminal. He exercised his right to self-defense. So let's put this scenario into the affirmative world. Robberies and other crimes will still occur because taking away guns does not take away the evil in human nature. However, now the robber is either still armed because he obtained a handgun through the black market, or he has another weapon or type of gun, seeing as only handguns are banned. Tim Foley is unable to defend himself because as a law-abiding citizen, he is without a concealed carry gun and is at a disadvantage. This is an example of how banning guns isn't stopping criminals, it's disarming victims. Also, in this situation, we can learn from another country who tried to ban handguns yet failed, the United Kingdom. In 1996, the UK enabled its handgun policy. Before their ban, the homicide rate was between 10.9 and 13 per million people. After the ban, the homicide rate increased and reached a peak of 18 people per million in 2003. This proves that we will have more security and be able to better protect victims if we do not ban guns. For all the said reasons, you should negate. So to respond to your value, the value clash is justice versus security. Prefer my value because security is vital not only to the government, but to the individual rights of people. My opponent states that in the affirmative world, justice would be achieved, but that is not true. Justice is giving each his due, and in the affirmative world, innocent people are being deprived of the right to not only feel safe, but be safe in case of attack. So you're not leveling the playing field by taking the guns from everybody, you're just giving the criminals a disadvantage, because they're already willing to break the law, but the law-abiding citizens aren't. So for the value criterion, your value criterion is minimizing violence, and I think that the value criterion, protecting for victims, is better than minimizing violence because self-defense is necessary and criminals do not have the same rights as victims if they're trying to take away rights from other people. If they're breaking the law, then they don't have the right to property because they're going to be put in jail. So minimizing violence, like self-defense is different than violence. So it's more necessary for people to be able to defend themselves than it is to not shoot back because that's violent. So to respond to your contention about the mass shootings, other guns can be used in mass shootings. In fact, other guns have been used in mass shootings, and right now handguns are being used because they're more popular, but other guns will become more popular. And you talked about Chicago in 2005. They had a handgun problem with all the shootings, and you said that if they banned it would help, but Chicago actually did ban handguns, and when it was unsuccessful, they repealed it. So that shows that it's not going to be successful, it's not going to change the crime rate. Your third contention was handguns are easily available and result in death. And I agree, handguns are easily available, which is why when you ban them, criminals are going to be able to get them through the black market, as I stated in my second contention. The handguns aren't going to all go away because we want them to. And to respond to your first contention, children have accidents and die tragically in many other ways. So, as said before, swimming pools kill many, many more children by drowning, like if they drown, than gun accidents do. And so do car accidents kill children. You're not going to ban cars. There's many other instances that children have been hurt because of it. So we need to keep our self-defense. And yeah.
Okay.
How much time?
What? Her speech or you have left?
Her speech.
Her speech was 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Do you want to take prep time before cross-ex, or do you want to just jump right in?
I want to take some prep time.
Okay, begin now.
How much time did I use?
You've used 30 seconds.
I won't stop.
Okay.
Good, ready?
Yep.
Opponent. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. So I'll start in 3 seconds. 2, 1, okay. So you said that, you agree that, security is provided by the government, right?
Yes, I do.
Then why do you need handguns to protect yourself?
Because the government cannot be everywhere at all times, and security can only go so far. The government cannot be everywhere, so people need to be able to defend themselves when the government isn't there for them. There's too many people. There's way more people than there are.
Okay, but then I said that it is more likely that you're more likely to be fatally shot, right? If you provoke the criminal, right?
I don't agree with that.
Leave.
Because in most circumstances, if you use, well, first of all, people, when they pull out a gun to use it in self-defense, they're not going to threaten them with it because then you're attacking that person. The victim is in self-defense, so if they really need to, they're going to pull out that gun and shoot them to save their life, okay? But also, in most circumstances, if a victim has a gun, then that would scare the criminal away, and they would rather go rob somebody else without a gun.
Actually, that's not true. Philip Cook said that when a gun is present in an assault or robbery, the victim is more likely to die. It is not only the assailant's intent that determines the outcome of the means of the attack. Thus, widespread gun use in violent crime intensifies the violence, increasing fatality rate. So,
However, I'm arguing in self-defense, so it would be just government, as your value is justice, if I was able to defend myself. So,
well, you even said that the government is supposed to protect you, and once technology gets better,
the government is supposed to protect you, but you can't expect the government to be there right away.
Okay, and then if we do ban, you said the black market will be right there. But then if we do catch people from the black market, we can enforce law with more force. right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that means they'll stop doing it because the enforcer with stronger, like, weapons, the enforcer with stronger powers.
As you said in your first contention, it's a cultural thing. You're not going to be able to stop, like,
Well,
people
I
wanting
said in my
to
first
be
contention
violent.
that you're surrounded. You said accidents, you said that many accidents happen and you can die in many other ways. You can, but then if you're surrounded in violence, you grow up in it, and then it's more likely that you'll be shooting somebody.
Well, I believe that there's going to be less violence if you're able to defend yourself and more self-defense. So more exercising your right to self-defense.
Oh, many people have said that if you're surrounded with handguns in your house, you're gonna like want to use one and shoot somebody and think it's a toy.
You think it's a toy.
Like, no, that's
If
what,
a
that's
child
what,
uses an
okay,
accident.
that's what
So what I'm saying is that there's many other ways that accidents can occur. It's not just handguns, and we can't go expecting to ban everything.
Okay, Abhay, would you like to take some preparation time before your next speech?
for 1 hour.
Yep. You have 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. Would you like to take any of that?
Okay,
Start now.
yes.
And I'll call it out in 30-second intervals. Thirty or 3 minutes left.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes and 15 seconds left.
Okay, alright,
Okay, you have 2 minutes left.
okay. Okay, so, you said that security is vital and everything, and security for the common people, and you said they can use guns. But I said it intensifies the violence, and it also provokes the criminal to do more bad things, and now he's actually trying to shoot you. As I said, Philip Cook said that when a gun is present in assault or robbery, the victim is more likely to die. It is only the assailant's intent that determines the outcome, but the means of the attack. Thus, widespread gun use in violent crimes intensifies the violence. So then, that's also the same thing with minimizing violence. My value criterion is better than yours, because you say self-defense is different than violence, but I don't get that when you're trying to, like, start taking out your gun and say I'm going to shoot you now because you're trying to take my property away. And then, and the accidents, you said about the accidents, I said, if you surround the kid in violence, there's obviously going to be more kids that are going to just, like, want to use a gun too. As I said, according to Phyllis Harkin of Public Health Reports, he said that the young child is introduced to the handgun as a toy. Violence with handguns is a mainstay on television drama. Then the young child does not understand the danger of the real object, or the difference between it and the toy gun. And while playing with the family gun, one child sometimes kills another. And then you also said that to attack with contention too, you said other guns will be used. But handguns are the most dangerous of all, in my opinion, because you can just conceal them. You can just put like a heavy dagger around yourself. They're 16 inches at max. and then you could just keep it with you, and then you could just start shooting. And the handgun was made to kill people. And then you said that you can, if I ban handguns, if for my contendant for easily available handguns result in increased death. If I banned handguns, you said it can still come through the black market. Well, we can enforce law even stronger if guns keep on coming through the black market. And if we enforce law and technology gets better, then it's going to be like bad for the people running the black markets. Yeah, and then I also said that like if we ban handguns, we're taking it one step at a time. That means like an example that Apple computers had. It had the iPhone 1, which is not anywhere compared to the iPhone 6. It keeps on getting better and better and better. So it will be like handguns is the first step to banning all bad things like related to guns and violence like that. And then you said self-defense is a right. Well, according to Charles Brunnis and Therese Richmond, as I said, as professors at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, they could obviously take studies because they are professors, and then they said, as a statement, say that the defensive users of handguns are more likely to die. Well, that is like not good, and that's what you're voting for. You're advocating for a world in which people can use guns at will and are subject to rights violations. I'm done.